They are talking about the gene mutation, that how gene mutation may cause the new combination of genes. And they have given you the example of the HBA and HBS, that how new different allele are formed over there. You have seen that a person with the sickle cell is having the genotype of HBA and HBS. HBA, HB for hemoglobin, HBA for normal hemoglobin, HBS for sickle-like hemoglobin. Means RBC, due to the change in the structure of hemoglobin, they do not remain flexible, because normally RBC is highly flexible. They are so flexible that they can squeeze their shape when they pass through very narrow capillaries. But when they become sickle-like, they become rigid. And when they become rigid and they become pointed and curved, what happens? They may block the vessels, and if they block them, the blood is not reaching to particular organs, and there is a very lack of oxygen and the deficiency of the nutrients, and the people become anemic. That's why we call it sickle cell anemia. In this disease, people are having the genotype of HBA, HBS, and there is a selection pressure which selects those people in the tropical rainforest. Why? Because then the people are having normal hemoglobin more as compared to the sickle-like hemoglobin, and in their genotype they have sickle allele of the sickle cell as well. They are going to survive over there because they are having the malaria as an endemic disease. In tropical rainforest, it is written here, selection pressure of malaria favors the heterozygous people over homozygous. Why? Because it is potentially harmful disease, and this potentially harmful disease is spreading through a vector which is called mosquito, and mosquito make colonies in the forest because they are very thick forest, and plus there is a lot of moisture, they are rainforest. So what happens over there? Stagnant water is there inside the forest. Water is also there in the ditches, in the form of pond, and sometime in the form of streams. And they are so dark and thick forest that sometimes sunlight is not reaching under the layers of the trees. So what happens? It becomes dark, it becomes moist, which is a very favorable condition for the growth of mosquitoes. And malaria is spreading through a vector called mosquito, right? So the malaria is an endemic disease. So people with the sickle cell have the advantage over there because they survive. Mostly the cause of death in the tropical rainforest is malaria, and they survive malaria, these people. Why? Because malarial parasite is changing its shape in the highly flexible RBC. Sometimes they become irregular, sometimes they become ring-like, sometimes they become oval, sometimes they become spindle-like. So they can change different shapes because RBC is highly flexible. But when they become rigid and like sickle, are they able to survive in these cells? Malarial parasite can survive in these cells? No, because they are rigid. Malarial parasite is used to changing its shapes. It can flip different shapes. That's why it is unable for the malarial parasite to survive in these cells. And if the people are having malaria, the people who are heterozygous, if they have malaria, the malaria is not very fatal in their bodies and they do not die of it. They survive. But the people who are normal, homozygous, A homozygous means HBA, they cannot survive there. Because normal people, they are unable to survive malaria over there, and mostly they die due to the malaria. So what happens in these countries? They are saying selection pressure is favoring the genotype of heterozygous people who are HBA, HBS, because normal people who are having HbA and HbA, they cannot normally survive there, and mostly they die because of the malaria, because it is severe over there. And the people which HbS genotype, they normally do not survive because their whole blood, when it becomes sickle-like hemoglobin, what happens? Right from the early age, their blood starts to block in the different areas, in the different vessels of the body, and normally they are in the early age, they die. These people die. So their survival is not possible, and they die in the early age or before the birth. So what happens? The survival of only heterozygous people is possible because natural selection pressure is favoring them, and nature survives the best. So these are the best people and they are the fittest over there. Although they have a disease in their genotype, they have a mutation of sickle cell, but they are fit in this environment. That's why we use the term of survival of fittest for these people, and they survive over there. So there is a, you can say, in the whole world, there are two different type of hemoglobin found. You can see here when HbA, heterozygous, both people cross with each other. If we take the example of again tropical rainforest, if the heterozygous is crossing with the heterozygous, because mostly this is the allele which is found there. So HbA, HbS, when they cross, what happens? They make, we can choose this. 25% generation will be HbA. 50% generation will be heterozygous, HbA, HbS, HbA, HbS, and 25% generation HbS. They do not survive, they do not survive. So what is the probability of survival? This is the probability of survival because they have a reduced survival ratio against the illness, and they have reduced survival pressure selected against the malaria. They are not in favor of malaria, they are selected against malaria. So malaria kills them normally. So what happens? The survival of only whom is possible? The people who are heterozygous for this area. So when heterozygous and heterozygous again cross with each other, 25% of their generation, this one, if there's a probability of 25% of the normal people, they will die because they are selected against the malaria. There is a probability of 25% who are unable to survive because of this disease, so they will also die. Again, 50% will be left. When this 50% again cross with each other in this way, on the earth, there is a probability of survival of these two type of people. Normally, the people without a tropical rainforest, they have the genotype of HbA. They are normal. And in tropical rainforest, it is HbA, HbS, because only those people can survive over there. So this is a disruptive type of selection. This is a selection, natural selection, and nature selects them, right? Now we come towards the Down syndrome. What is Down syndrome? I told you this thing, that Down syndrome is actually the chromosomal mutation in which the number of chromosomes is changed. 21st pair due to the non-disjunction. Improper disjunction causes this. Why? Because during meiosis, when gametes are formed, they fail to separate properly. So when during the metaphase, the pair of the chromosomes they break apart like this. They have already changed their genes. I'm not making those exchange of genes because they are partially green, partially pink. Means they have mixed their genes by crossing over. I'm not making this. I'm just showing you that during the metaphase, when the spindle formation, where they are attached to the metaphase plate, they are going to separate. They are breaking apart their chromosomal pairs. So sometimes it happens that some of the chromosomes they break in this way that all the three chromatids they move to one cell like this. So in one cell there is a one additional chromosome. Otherwise, normally it should break like this. One chromosome up and one chromosome down in anaphase. But what happens? They break randomly, and the chromosome which is having this, it will have only one chromosome. So if this cell will make a gamete, there will be 22 chromosomes because one is less. If it will make this abnormal number of chromosome will make a gamete, they will have 24. So if it fuses with a normal gamete, 23, chromosome number will be 47, that is Down syndrome. If it will fuse with a normal gamete of 23, they will have chromosome number of 45, which is again another syndrome. It's not Down syndrome, it is another syndrome, right? And it is again abnormality. So they are saying here that due to the improper non-disjunction, disjunction means to break apart. But there is a non-disjunction and improper disjunction causes the improper breakdown of the chromosomes and they vary their number and their number when changes abnormally they cause the different type of syndromes and abnormalities in the body. Now look at this. In I have given you 1 minute or take 2 minutes. Read Down syndrome and sickle cell. Go through this. Then
जी मिस
what can be the answer of this question? Test yourself. Question 14.
मिस ए तो म्यूटेशन होगा।
ओके।
मिस दिस विल इफेक्ट एन ऑर्गेनिज्म बिकॉज लाइक बेस सीक्वेंस में चेंज आ गई है, तो जिसके लिए लाइक जो ये कोडॉन जिस प्रोटीन के लिए कोड करता था, अब वो नहीं होगी, कोई और
हम्म।
प्रोटीन बनेगी।
हाँ, codon will code for the amino acid, and the if the amino acid is changed, polypeptide chain will be changed. And if there is a change in the polypeptide, then it means that protein will be changed. Is that clear?
जी मिस।
We are going to end here. Tomorrow we'll discuss and later. ठीक है? Wonderful.
ओके।
Allah Hafiz.
अल्लाह हाफिज।